As above, so below. As within, so without. This ancient Hermetic truth, expressed in the words of the Emerald Tablet, invites us to look beyond appearances, to perceive that the microcosm and the macrocosm are not separate entities, but two faces of the same universal reality. The same intelligence that forms the stars, forms the atoms within our bodies. Today, we will explore the depth of this universal law and how it connects with the latest advances in science and with the millennial wisdom of mystics and philosophers throughout history. We will understand how this principle can be applied in our lives to become more complete and conscious beings. This law, known as the principle of correspondence, holds that reality in all its dimensions is structured fractally. This Hermetic principle suggests that everything in the universe is connected and that every fragment of the whole reflects the whole. For example, the cells of our body carry the same genetic code that constitutes the entire organism, and each cell, in a way, is a microcosm of the body. Likewise, the movement of galaxies resembles the movement of atoms and electrons in their nuclei, showing that the universal laws are the same, whether on astronomical or subatomic scales. The law of correspondence teaches us to see the universe as a great mirror. If you want to understand reality, first observe yourself. Just as the macrocosm affects the microcosm, our internal state influences the world around us. And here we find a powerful key. By transforming what is within, we also transform what is outside. From a spiritual perspective, as above, so below, leads us to a deep understanding of the unity of everything. Jesus Christ, in his wisdom, said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Luke 17:21. Just as the cosmos contains within itself the potential for everything, the human being, in its inner microcosm, contains the seed of the divine. The human mind is, at the same time, an observer and a creation of the universe. Just as the cosmic whole expresses itself in every atom, the human being is a reflection of the totality of the cosmos. As Hermetic philosophy states, each person is a microcosm, a small universe that, as it expands, reaches and harmonizes with the greater universe. This reveals the power and responsibility of taking care of one's own mind, thoughts, and emotions. By doing so, we also take care of what is outside of us. The philosopher Plotinus asserted that the more a man knows himself, the more he knows the universe and what is beyond it. This idea echoes the Hermetic principle that, to understand the cosmos, we must first unveil the universe that exists within us. Spiritual philosophy teaches that our internal state, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, acts as a lens that shapes the way we perceive the external world. If we are at peace, we see the world with peace. If we are in conflict, the world around us seems hostile and disharmonious. This understanding reveals that the barriers we perceive between the self and the other, or between man and the universe, are illusory. In reality, we are part of a greater whole, and what happens inside us is in constant interaction with what happens outside. Thus, by transforming the inner universe, we adjust our relationship with the outer universe. For mystics, understanding as above, so below means recognizing that everything that exists in the cosmos also exists in potential within us. Carl Jung, Swiss psychologist and scholar of symbolism, cited in almost every video on this channel, explained that the personal unconscious of the human being is a reflection of the collective unconscious, a reservoir of images, ideas, and archetypes that shape how we experience life. Just as the cosmos is in constant movement and transformation, the inner universe of each human being is dynamic and pulsating. By exploring this inner universe, the individual not only discovers aspects of themselves, but also connects with archetypal forces and universal truths that are part of the entire cosmos. Therefore, the spiritual journey is a journey of return to this universal center that exists within us. Just as the principle of as above, so below affirms the correspondence between the macrocosm and the microcosm, it also suggests an integration between spirit and matter, between being and doing, between the internal and the external. Paracelsus, one of the great alchemists and philosophers of nature, said that the understanding of oneself is the first step toward understanding all things. For alchemists, the ultimate goal of self-knowledge is union with the whole. By transforming our inner lead, fears, doubts, limitations, into gold, wisdom, peace, self-mastery, we align with the divine flow of the universe. It is the alchemical process, the work of harmonizing what is above with what is below, and of seeing matter and spirit as one. The principle of correspondence invites us to see the universe as a series of layers and realities that mirror each other. It suggests that there is an intimate relationship between different planes of existence, and that what occurs on one level of reality has reflections, parallels, or resonances in others. In the context of the duality between spirit and matter, the Second Hermetic Law reveals that spirit and matter, although seemingly opposites, are in fact reflections of the same essential reality. The material world we experience is a reflection of forces, ideas, and laws that operate on the spiritual plane, such that matter is like a shadow or expression of the subtle laws and energies of the spirit. According to the principle of correspondence, spirit is the original or causal plane, where all ideas and energies originate. Matter, then, is the reflection of this origin, shaped according to the invisible laws and patterns of the spirit. Think of the spirit as the source and matter as the image projected by this source. Matter only exists as a function of the presence and movement of this underlying spiritual energy. Thus, the visible world is shaped by the invisible forces of the spiritual plane, much like a statue is sculpted from an idea. Likewise, any transformation or change we wish to see in matter begins, first and foremost, on the spiritual plane, whether through intention, vision, or the mind. An example to understand this relationship lies in nature itself. Consider DNA, an invisible structure to the naked eye, but one that contains all the information necessary to create a complex physical organism. This relationship between DNA and the physical body is a reflection of the correspondence between spirit, as the source of information and energy, and matter, as the expression of this essence. By aligning our mind and intentions with spiritual laws, we can influence and shape matter according to our will. However, this does not mean controlling or manipulating material reality. Rather, it is a process of alignment. When we understand that matter is merely a densification of spirit, we realize that profound transformations occur when we operate directly on the spiritual plane, that is, on the level of our intentions, thoughts, and beliefs. For example, someone wishing for prosperity may understand that this abundance begins in the spirit, through a mind that generates beliefs of self-worth, confidence, and gratitude. By nurturing these spiritual and mental patterns, the reflection in the material world inevitably manifests, even if in a gradual and subtle way. Life is a constant dance between spirit and matter, where the goal is not to deny one in favor of the other, but to recognize and harmonize both. True alchemy, then, lies in integrating the spiritual world with material life, recognizing that each aspect of our physical existence has a spiritual reflection, and that each spiritual experience can be lived in matter. This means that the search for meaning and purpose, often associated with the spiritual plane, must have practical expression in our daily lives. When we cultivate the spirit through practices of self-knowledge, such as meditation and introspection, we are simultaneously creating a stronger foundation for a fulfilling, aligned material life full of meaning. Ultimately, the principle of correspondence reminds us that the duality of spirit and matter is, at its essence, an illusion created by our limited perception. Both are expressions of the same universal truth. Just as light passing through a prism divides into several colors, spirit manifests in matter without losing its original essence. This understanding allows for profound spiritual freedom, as we recognize that, by fully living on the material plane and honoring physical life, we are also expressing the spirit. The purpose of our spiritual journey, then, is not to escape matter, but to transcend it, seeing it as a reflection of spirit in motion. The Hermetic maxim, "As above, so below," is not only a philosophical or esoteric concept, it also manifests clearly and objectively in the phenomena of nature. When we observe the natural world, we see that the same structure and operational patterns we find on small scales repeat on much larger dimensions. This correspondence between the microcosm and the macrocosm is not merely symbolic. It is imprinted in the fundamental patterns that govern matter and energy. One of the most emblematic examples of as above, so below in nature is the phenomenon of fractals. Fractals are shapes that repeat on different scales and can be observed in both tiny objects and colossal structures. Fractal geometry is evidence that the same patterns that structure the universe in its vastness are found in the minutiae of the natural world. Take, for example, the spiral symmetry of the Nautilus shell and compare it to the shape of a spiral galaxy. The same Fibonacci mathematical sequence that organizes the growth of a flower's petals also applies to the arms of galaxies. The principle of as above, so below becomes visible in this repetition of patterns, showing that nature follows a universal order. This mathematical organization is known to many as sacred geometry, a language of the cosmos that structures everything from the movement of subatomic particles to the growth cycle of plants and the formation of star systems. Nature is driven by cycles that reflect one another, from the smallest organisms to the largest ecosystems. The cycle of life, birth, growth, death, and renewal, is one of the most universal examples. Just as the seasons change in a perpetual cycle, all living beings experience a version of this cycle in their own lives. In the human body, for example, the circulatory system is a microcosm of the Earth's hydrological system. Just as rivers flow to the ocean, blood flows to the heart, and from there to the rest of the body, nourishing and connecting all parts. Both follow a similar principle of flow and return, demonstrating that the macrocosm, the Earth, and the microcosm, the human being, are organized by the same underlying intelligence. This correspondence between the micro and the macro also manifests in the cycles of sleep and wakefulness, in the rhythms of cellular activity, and in planetary rotation, showing that the principle of correspondence is a fundamental code in all vital processes. Another clear example of as above, so below appears in the structure of atoms and solar systems. The nucleus of an atom, surrounded by electrons that revolve around it, closely resembles the Sun at the center of a planetary system, with planets orbiting. This similarity has led some scientists and mystics to suggest that the basic structure of the universe may be repetitive and holographic, with the same pattern repeating on subatomic and cosmic scales. This analogy reveals an ordered universe, where the microcosm and macrocosm reflect each other. The philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras believed that number is the principle of all things, suggesting that reality is structured by mathematical and geometric principles that apply both to the vastness of galaxies and to the most insignificant particle. In the field of consciousness, scientists such as David Bohm, a physicist and collaborator of Albert Einstein, proposed the idea of hollow movement. Bohm suggested that reality is not composed of separate parts, but rather of an indivisible totality, where the parts are not isolated, but reflections of a greater and indivisible reality, much like a hologram. In other words, each part of the universe contains the whole, reflecting the idea that what happens at one level of reality impacts other levels. Benoit Mandelbrot, the mathematician of the last century who discovered fractals, revealed how these patterns are a fundamental characteristic of various systems. When we look at the universe with this fractal view, each small part seems to be a smaller-scale version of the whole. Thus, as above, so below becomes not just a philosophical metaphor, but an observable phenomenon in the natural world. The law of correspondence shows us how the external world, our results, our health, our physical appearance, is a direct mirror of the inner world, that is, our beliefs, intentions, and above all, our daily habits. Every small act we repeat is an expression of our mindset, and when accumulated, it creates a tangible and visible reality. Just as a stone thrown into a lake creates waves that spread, our habits and thought patterns reverberate and shape our body and our life. In other words, our physical, emotional, and even financial condition is the result of a reflection of what we consistently cultivate within. Every aspect of our life is a manifestation of what we believe, desire, and practice daily. A disciplined mind is the fertile ground for creating healthy and consistent habits. Someone with a disciplined mindset, with clarity of purpose and goals, reflects this inner order in their body. Mental discipline translates into concrete actions, regular meal times, physical exercise, and practices that nourish and strengthen the body. As a result, the body becomes an expression of this organized mind, healthy, strong, and balanced. On the other hand, a disorganized mind that easily yields to distractions and does not set priorities tends to generate harmful habits. This type of mentality is reflected in a body that shows signs of disorder, excess weight, chronic fatigue, health problems. When there is a lack of internal discipline, the tendency is to seek immediate comfort, processed foods, excessive sedentary behavior, lack of sleep, that although providing momentary satisfaction, result in long-term physical and emotional degeneration. Consider someone who constantly procrastinates, delays exercise, and does not care about the quality of their food. This person reflects a state of mental disorganization in their body. Excess weight and constant fatigue are then expressions of the undisciplined and disordered mind. As the Greek philosopher Aristotle wisely said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Each small action, when repeated daily, has a profound impact. The one who dedicates a few minutes daily to self-care, learning, or physical exercise is planting seeds that, over time, create an abundant harvest. Small gestures of care and discipline, when added together, result in great achievements and a fuller life. To an outside observer, a significant physical or mental transformation may seem like the result of something drastic, but in reality, it is the reflection of many small acts done with consistency and intention. Deep transformation happens when we understand that success or failure are, in fact, the fruits of small choices made daily. A simple habit, like drinking more water every day, may seem insignificant in isolation. But over months, it can transform a person's skin, energy, and overall health. This is the principle of correspondence in action. Small acts that begin in the microcosm of the mind, manifest in daily life, and then create profound changes in the macrocosm of life. To transform external results, whether in the body, health, or relationships. It is necessary to start from the inside, from the mind and spirit. This is the power of the principle of correspondence. By changing our mindset and cultivating beliefs of discipline, self-care, and self-love, our daily habits begin to reflect these internal changes. And gradually, our external environment adjusts to this new internal configuration. Those who have clarity of purpose and direction, those who know what they want to build and achieve, develop habits that sustain that path. A strong body, a clear mind, and an organized life are reflections of a soul that has found a reason to exist and expresses it through every small action. When contemplating the principle of correspondence, we begin to understand that this ancient wisdom is not limited to theoretical reflection. It offers a compass for living with more harmony, authenticity, and intention. Applying this principle to everyday life can help us align our inner world with the outer world, fostering clarity, emotional balance, and well-being. Just as the universe organizes itself into cycles and harmony, we must also seek this balance within ourselves. At its core, the universe is like a vibrant melody, and each of us is a note, resonating in the harmony of the whole. What we are on the inside is manifested on the outside. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our daily habits are the invisible threads that weave the reality around us. The principle of correspondence reminds us that we are the sculptors of our own existence. The clay is our consciousness, and the chisel, our actions. And so, like a mirror that reflects the starry sky in the calm waters of a lake, life responds precisely to what we emanate from our soul. If we seek peace, let us cultivate serenity. If we desire strength, nourish it with discipline. And if we want love, let it blossom in us as a pure and unquenchable flame. Let us always remember, what we create within ourselves, the world will return to us in reflection. As above, so below. As within, so without. May every choice we make be a silent and intentional prayer, echoing in eternity and bringing forth the highest expression of our being. Thank you for watching.